Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Oh! He broke his ankles. Now he's got an entourage. And he's got a touchdown. He is Houdini. Going deep into the end zone and caught by Chase. Oh my goodness, what a grab! 34-yard touchdown throw!
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another exciting episode of Dynasty Nation. I'm your host, Kevin, and joining me here today is the man himself, Big Rich. What's going on, man?
Hello, Kevy boy. How's it going?
Dude, it's going good, man. It was a great, great weekend of football, and I'm really excited. Me and you tackling this week. Jimmy, scheduling conflicts couldn't make it, but I'm excited, man. Here we are.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. You know, if one of you guys are out, it's always my pleasure to fill in for one of you guys.
There you go, man. So, all right, man, jumping right into it. We do have some big news to talk about. There were two pretty significant injuries that happened. So first, let's just start with the biggest one, Cooper Kupp, man. So devastating blow to Jimmy, obviously, but he was placed on IR for a high ankle sprain. Biggest difference here. So compared to Mike Williams' high ankle sprain, Cooper Kupp is going through with surgery. So basically, the ligament that keeps his shin bones, like in layman's terms, like the two bones there, the fibula and the tibia, the ligament that connects them was very badly torn. And basically, man's lost all his kind of stability there. Overall, just strength is lost. Like, forget cutting. Like, and with surgery, I mean, Cooper Kupp, professional athletes recover faster than most normal humans, but I'd say 6 months, he's done for the year, especially because the Rams got nothing to play for. It sucks, man. High ankle sprain is so rare for most people, but when you're an NFL player, it's just it comes with the territory, man. Tough blow.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, tough blow for the Rams. I'd say it's even a tougher hit for Jim because it looked like the Rams weren't the same team as last year anyway. And I think at first I saw 4 weeks, but I just didn't really see that because if they were maybe in like super competitive mode, the Rams, then yeah, maybe he could try and come back for the end of the year. But I agree that they're probably going to have him sit out for the rest of the season, which really sucks for Jim. And he did put him on the trade block. Jim is very win now. Like it's him and Andrew. And I say this injury here makes Andrew, who already was, in my opinion, the clear favorite because you really needed that 30-point potential from Kupp for him to go in that matchup there. So I wouldn't be surprised. It is deadline week. I wouldn't be surprised if Jim does make a move with Kupp to try and compensate as much as he loves him. There's really bad timing.
Terrible timing, man. I couldn't agree more. I agree. Andrew was already kind of a little bit of a higher up on Jim, and now it's like no argument at all. This is just really tough for Jim and the Rams, obviously. But so moving on, another big injury, Zach Ertz, man. So he's more than likely also done for the year. So no specific details have come out regarding his diagnosis, but I did watch the injury. And just given the mechanism of injury he had, the way he fell, kind of had a player kind of fall on top of him. I don't want to speculate too much, but if I had to guess, a gun to my head, what do I think his injury is? I'd probably think it's more MCL, meniscal damage. Worst case scenario, ACL. I don't think it's ACL, but I mean, the Cardinals are another team that are just not that great this year. He's 31. He might have some bone bruising going on as well. Just a lot, pretty annoying injuries to have. He might need surgery, he might not, but just anything with the knee, man. He wasn't a good sight, that's for sure. He did get carted off, and he was not able to bear any weight. So I'm left to believe he's more than likely done. I think Cliff Kingsbury has already said he's done. So I guess we can look for Trey McBride to take on more of a role.
Yeah, and as from a fantasy perspective for Justin, it just seems to be another one of those things that doesn't seem to be going right for him this season. He's still been talking about making the playoffs at 3-7, and for his starting tight end to go down now, it really might be just time at deadline week to just pack it in and maybe start looking for some future assets.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. And I said it from day one when this guy's saying, "Oh, well, I'm looking for the playoffs," and like even like in trade talks, like it's like, I mean, you were able to with Waddle, you were able to kind of like finagle your way, make it happen. But even then, still, like, he talks a big game, man. But I feel bad. But
Yeah, I was talking to him this week actually that maybe another deal. And he said, I don't know if I win out, I could still make the playoffs. So there's definitely a lot of optimism there, and I do respect it. But I think
oh my
it's what they
god,
like to call horse shit. That's what I like to call it. But yeah,
yeah, man. Oh, but hey, hats off to him. He's a competitor. No tanking on his end.
definitely not like Bob. Definitely not
No,
like Bob.
exactly, man. Moving on, not about an injury, but shout out Jeff Saturday, man. Comes out, makes his coaching debut, much to many criticism around the league, to Jim Irsay and just the Colts as a whole. Like, what are they doing? It comes out, gets a big win for the Colts against the Raiders, who haven't been good by any means this year. But hey, in your debut, and not only that, the struggling Jonathan Taylor comes back to life, finishes as RB1 this week. So is this a sight we can get used to again, Rich, or what do you think?
Yeah, the Colts were like a pretty talented team, honestly. I mean, their quarterback situation has been iffy, but even then, you see that he threw Matt Ryan back in there, and he's been
Yeah.
confirmed as a starter going forward, which is why I picked
Mm-hmm.
him up on waivers because I desperately need a quarterback this week.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've loved the interviews that I've heard him give he was on the Pat McAfee show. I just like love the energy he gives off, and then that one press conference he gave, where he's like, maybe I'll suck at this, but maybe I'll be great. We'll just see. Like he definitely has like a motivational factor to him. And they're a talented team, like as far as their weapons go. So we'll definitely see how it goes going forward here.
Yeah, man. So with you kind of mentioned it, but with the trade deadline in our league vastly approaching, I believe our rule is set like everything needs to be in before kickoff Monday Night Football. I believe that's
Yeah.
what is in place. So you already kind of mentioned Justin, but Rich, what other teams do you see like needing to make that move by the deadline? Whether that's like for playoffs or like they have no use of having some veterans and like just trying to get some value, sell them to a contender.
Well, I think as far as like buyers are concerned, I think that with this Kupp injury, like I said before, I think Jim is definitely in there. I mean, he definitely has so many good weapons still, but I think if he wants to really go for it with Andy, which I think with the position of his team, he has no other choice but then to go for it. So I see him maybe doing something. I don't know if he can add a piece that's really that substantial. And then, like I said, Justin being a seller, and then myself, I might be in the reins here to try to make a push. A lot of teams really went for like the bottom tanking side of things, but I kind of took advantage of that and really turned my team into a potential playoff team. So I think I'm going to try and ride that momentum, maybe make a deal here going forward. I'm not going to make anything stupid, throw my future away for it, but maybe going forward I can get something done.
Yeah, man, I was gonna definitely say you as well. Like, I think you're in a really good position. A little bit of an iffy matchup this week. We'll get into it for you, but I think you're right there. And I mean, your team is definitely ascending, has been ascending. You're on a nice win streak right now. So yeah, I definitely look to you to make a move at the deadline for sure.
A player to watch that, I mean, I know TJ isn't very active, but he has Hopkins sitting on his roster. And I just think that's a player that he could really talk to a lot of different teams to add. He's 30 years old, and TJ's been a little bit of the bottom. I mean, TJ might be trying to make a push for that the playoff spot, but his record is not looking great. But maybe Hopkins on the move. I see him as a big name in this market these days.
I do too. It's just a matter of if TJ is willing to put in the effort to make a trade. We'll see. But yeah, I totally agree with that as well, man. But speaking of trades, we did have one that went down right before week 10 began between me and the commish, Mr. Andy Fems. So jumping right into that. Speaking of sellers, I was able to give up Cordero Patterson, and in exchange, I received a 23 second and a 25 first, which essentially was a pick I got back in the Hurst deal I made with him earlier. So, Rich, what do you think?
I mean, it's definitely understandable. Like personally, I still think that your team is right there in the middle of the road with me, Lexi, and who else is in there? I mean, it's really just I feel like us three could really make that push.
Yeah.
But like I do feel like Cordell is like he's older. So if you do want to start looking towards the future, like that second round pick is definitely big for him. I don't think you really could have gotten that much more for him. So I think you definitely took advantage of Andrew wanting to add some depth. It's definitely a move that makes sense for both sides.
Mm-hmm. I talked to Andrew about it a bit afterwards, and that was pretty much the most value I would have been able to get out of him. He didn't even really want to give me the fourth back at all. And I felt more than okay with it. I don't I'm pretty much in it kind of right now. I still think Alexi's team right now, he's has a better team. I gave him Tyreek Hill and hasn't been working out for him. Overall, he hasn't been winning any games yet. But I still think when it comes down to it, he his team is better than mine as presently constructed. If I sneak in, am I going to regret that I gave away Cordero? Not really, because even with Cordero, I'm not hanging with Andrew or Jimmy. So I like the value. And yeah, man, I looking around the league of teams that could have wanted Cordero. Andrew was really the only one that had a 23 second that would have made sense for them to want him. So it made all the sense in the world for me, and I'm glad I was able to get it done, man, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I like
it. Moving on, that's all our recap here. Let's dive right into week 10, man. All the stuff that went down. So starting us off, first matchup here was my Taylor Swift's McLaren F1 falling to Andrew's Chrome Future, 112.64 to 143.7.
Yeah, I mean, as expected, I believe we all made this pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Justin Jefferson just had an absolute one hell of a day here.
Catch of the year by
yeah,
far.
that catch was absolutely insane. Maybe catch of all time. I know I've seen the discussions. It's Odell, him.
We'll
you know,
see.
those playoff catches, Super Bowl catches might mean more, but like that, like with defenders on him, just secured it with that bear claw.
Fourth and long, too. Fourth and long. It was a must-make play.
And it was a huge game. One of the best games of the past that I mean, I didn't get to watch it live, but I watched the highlights, and it was definitely incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a big win for Drew. You know, he just keeps on rolling. Like I've said many times before, anyone that goes up against him, you almost have to pick against them, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, pick your poison, right? I mean, both of them in that same game, Jefferson and Diggs. I mean, Josh Allen didn't have a great game, but hey, Diggs is on the receiving end. It's like, it's what can you do about that? And obviously Saquon against a plus matchup, he takes advantage. It's really tough, and it's hard to think, especially with the Kupp news. There has to be a massive choke job for Andrew not to get it done.
But I think looking at this matchup here is a prime example though of why Andrew's team is so good, because some of his best players, Derrick Henry, Debo, all had bad performances by their standards, and yet he still put up 143 points. It's crazy. I mean, you look at your team. Jonathan Taylor had a nice bounce back day, and Terry had a good day. Scary Terry, but you just don't have the weapons to match up with Andrew.
Yeah, man, it's not even close, and it's like I feel bad for that fourth seed. If Andrew does in fact finish with the number one seed, I feel bad for that first team that has to go up against him round one. So
I do have a question for you though with your matchup here today. What's going on with Justin Herbert, man?
I mean, it's not great. Had a great first drive against the 49ers. Went right up down the field, perfect. Didn't have a single incompletion, touchdown. It's tough. He doesn't have his top two weapons. His best receivers are running back right now. I'm not really making any excuses for him, but I know where you're going with this, and I'll just beat you to it. And Tua's got Tyreek Hill, who's literally setting NFL records, and Jalen Waddle, who's very good as well. And there's not a single Chargers receiver that could sniff either of their shoes when they're all fully healthy.
But he's still having one of the best seasons of quarterbacks I've ever had. So
yeah, all right. Well, let's look at body of work, Rich. But this is a great season for Tua. But yeah, Justin Herbert, it is a bit concerning for sure. But yeah, just because you mentioned it, Jonathan Taylor, welcome back. I fully expect this to be happening moving forward. He was the first overall pick in many redraft leagues this year. It was an absolute bust. all year with injuries and the Colts just being awful. So yeah, we'll see with Taylor moving forward, but yeah, just we all expected Andrew to pull this one out, man.
Mm-hmm.
So for our next matchup, we have the Evil Empire defeating Gunnar Grogan 116.18 to 100.24.
Yeah, I mean, if you look across the board on TJ's team, his receiving core really showed up, and that's really all he needed because just if you look at Rob's team, there's not really a whole lot to speak of. I mean, so like even Pierce didn't have a great day, and you can mention names on Rob's team, but you kind of know where it's going every week for Rob.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing here was Clyde Edwards-Helaire without a single carry and not a single touch. He got targeted twice and couldn't bring him down. And it's not like Isaiah Pacheco did anything outstanding, but he took on the bulk of the carries. Jerick McKinnon was involved, but hey, I'm liking my trade more and more as Alexi continues to lose these games. But yeah, man, tough for Grogan. It was fun. It was fun for a while, man, with Clyde. It was a big, nice storyline. But yeah, tough for him for sure.
It's big for TJ, who maybe is trying to climb his way out of the rut that he started the season in. He is one of the hotter teams in the league right now. Once Hopkins came back, it's really just been the identity of his team is just Hopkins consistently putting up like 20 plus points.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he moves him at the deadline and goes for that higher draft pick, or if he continues to make a run maybe at middle of the pack, and if he really gets hot and everyone else falters, maybe get that playoff spot.
I will say if TJ doesn't move Hopkins, I'll be like kind of disappointed because news has already been coming out. Hollywood Brown is scheduled to practice coming off his injury, so there's more of target share right there. And Hollywood Brown was killing it before he got hurt, so I think Hopkins' value will never be higher, and it's prime time to move him before Hollywood does actually play again alongside Hopkins. So yeah, man, we'll see how that goes, but this was a matchup me and Jimmy disagreed on. He had picked Grogan, and sorry, Mr. Jim.
Yeah, that was like Jimmy's usually good at picking, but that was a real just dart, completely missed off the board there by Jim.
I'd say. But next, speaking of the devil, we have Run CMC pulling out the win against I'm All In 134.76 to 129.82. This loss, drops Alexi to 500. And, like I said, the man has not won a single game since acquiring Tyreek Hill. So, Rich, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Alexi's really got to be in panic mode. He's been pretty silent, giving a calm face in the midst of this adversity.
Yeah.
I think that one more move should be in the horizon. Again, I've been saying it all year. His team kind of goes how the Bucks go.
Yeah.
And it was actually a pretty good week for the Bucks this week, but it's still not really great fantasy wise, and what you really want, especially with what's been going on with Fournette's a little bit funny there in Tampa. And if you look at Jimmy's team, like for his team standards, that it was a pedestrian day for them, which is why it became so close. But what I really think it came down to was just a monster game from James Conner, who has been quiet all season. And if he starts getting production from him like this every week, then it'll definitely make up for the fact that Zeke went down, and maybe a little bit for the fact that Kupp went down now for him.
Yeah, man, it's similar to Andrew. I mean, guys, with Kupp giving you 2.9, obviously, left early. Judy with a goose egg, he got an ankle injury early, and like you said, James Conner picking up the slack. Aaron Rodgers having a half decent game for the first time in how long?
Finally,
yeah, McCaffrey kind of doing his thing. Amon-Ra St. Brown with over 20 points. Kelsey doing his thing with over 20. Pickens finds the end zone. He's got these guys that just kind of show up when he really needs them. And a must win game for Alexi, falling short against a shorthanded Run CMC.
It was actually a pretty quiet day from Tyreek Hill all around, which is back to the Tua point. I know we won't harp on this whole episode, but I think my favorite thing about that win from us is that that defense went all out on stopping Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Like they just put all attention on them, and Tua was still able to find everyone else, and we showed a run game. So
Yeah.
that's about the Dolphins. We'll stop talking about that now. But yeah, Alexi, if I'm Alexi right now, I'm in full on panic because I know I passed him now in the standings. How crazy is that?
Yeah, it's insane.
And he, like he said, he's all in. So he doesn't have much of a future to speak of. So
Nope.
it's really like whatever assets you have, muster it up and add something to this team right now because it's the last chance you'll get to do so. Maybe like for the next 5 years for Alexi's team. Like you got to make a move.
I agree, man. It's a really, really tough scene. I can't believe that you guys are right next to each other right now. And of course, for our viewers that are new here, not too long ago, Big Rich was literally the bottom of the barrel in terms of power rankings that we do. It's crazy, man. His rise has been meteoric, to put it lightly. So,
5-game win streak here.
Yeah, exactly, man. Crazy. But with that, our next matchup here is your team, Rich. Rags to Riches getting it done against the new basement dweller of the league, Bateman and Robin, pulling it out 132.5 to 108.98.
Yeah, another guarantee for me. I've been on this little bit of a guarantee stretch, but like this one didn't mean much because Jason's team is pathetic. He had Kenneth Gainwell as his RB1. Pollard has really been showing up in Zeke's absence. Like I think he's been showing up so much that even when Zeke comes back, like you got to keep giving this guy the ball. 22 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Pedestrian day from Waddle. Ayuk continuing to do his thing. Komet's been popping off these past couple weeks. He's questionable right now, but that's because he missed a practice. I think he'll be back for our matchup. But what I want to shout out, Kenneth Walker didn't have the biggest day. But what I will say is that he had 8 balls thrown to him. So, and people said his number one knock was that he wasn't involved in the receiving game, but he had six catches for 55 yards. So for me, for the future, like honestly, like I know you guys are having discussion and you and Jim and Bob about who are the top running backs in Dynasty are. I got Kenneth Walker as number 2.
Wow.
Jonathan Taylor is still at 1 just because of what he did last year.
Yeah. But yeah, wow. I mean, I can't knock it. I just because you mentioned it, I should have also had Travis Etienne in there. I looked back at that as well. It was kind of a bit of a daze of an episode for me. At that point, I was like all over the place. I've been picking my wide receivers and running backs, but yeah. But I can't argue with that, man. Kenneth Walker is definitely looking really special, and I can't, his production speaks for himself. Had he been the starter all year, I mean, his numbers would have been through the roof, man. Maybe that time to kind of sit behind Penny was really good, kind of just adapt and adjust to the NFL, how things get done. But he looks like the ultimate professional. And yeah, man, I really can't argue with him being a top 5 dynasty back, honestly.
And to look at Jason's side, monster day from CD, which is the only thing that really had me a little bit concerned.
Yep.
Devonta iced the game for me with those with that touchdown. And then Kadarius Toney, who has seemed to be flourishing in Kansas City with a nice start to his career there.
Yeah. I know Hardman being out kind of opens the door for him a bit, but still, man, it's just like he's injured with the Giants, goes to the Chiefs, and he looks totally fine to me. Talented player, man. And, the Chiefs probably like won the trade, but, Tony was damaged goods for the Giants, and it was kind of almost like bad juju, him on the team. It wasn't doing anything for us. So, both sides have worked out well. The Chiefs are obviously a Super Bowl contender, obviously. And, Tony's going to do a lot for them. And, who knows? We were talking about how Hardman might have maybe been turning the corner. I don't know. I definitely think Tony is more explosive than Mecole Hardman. Hardman is very fast, but I think Tony can do a bit more. And this could have been absolutely massive for his dynasty value moving forward for Mr. J.
Yeah, and with Tony, like that's one of Jay's only bright spots, like of the years if he continues to perform well, and also a bright spot is I'm sure he's happy to now be the basement dweller.
Yeah, exactly. So our next matchup here, talking about former basement dwellers, the saddest man with the surprise victory over Chicken Parmesan, winning this one 135 on the button to 120.84.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly didn't see it coming.
Nope.
It what it really came down to was Watson just going off and having a great day with Aaron Rodgers.
Hmm.
I don't know if you can really see this coming from the future for Watson.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, hey, with the passing game the way it's been in Green Bay this year, that's got to be huge for both Bobby and for the Packers. And then
Oh
looking
yeah.
at the other side, I think it really what led to uh Carmine's downfall was really just that really weird game with the Eagles and Washington, where
Yeah.
there wasn't much production from both AJ Brown and Sanders.
Yeah, that game lost a lot of people money, man. And I didn't bet on it, but last episode I was doing nothing but hyping up the Eagles and how bad Washington is, and they came out and got a very crazy win. A bit questionable some of the calls. I hate the Eagles, but Eagles did get kind of screwed over a couple times, but still, yeah, Washington with a very big upset victory, and AJ Brown getting absolutely shut down, man, with 1.7. Guy had one reception for 7 yards. That was the whole game. I mean, that's unheard of. He's been absolutely killing it this year, and I didn't think it was really possible. Someone as good and as dominant as he's been all year to only be able to get one catch against a team that's been at best. They got nothing exciting about them except for maybe Terry. And I mean, I don't know, man. It's interesting, but yeah, I mean, Bob got hats off to him. Jeff Wilson having another good game, 17 carries, 119 yards, gets in the end zone. He was my player to watch for this matchup. So it was interesting there. And like you said, Christian Watson for a while, man. Rich, I mean, this was Bobby's first round pick in our rookie draft, and up until this point, it was looking like a massive bust.
Yeah,
You
he and
know,
Sky Moore were just looking like the jokes of I mean, with injury issues mostly for Watson,
yeah,
which I think is the difference between him and Sky Moore.
yeah.
But I mean, hey, if you get opportunity here and you go off, let's see how it goes going forward here.
Yeah, man. Obviously, we look to some consistency moving forward, but yeah, what a day for the Rook, huh? Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think this matchup for Carmine too is just kind of a story of what his season's been.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you look at this roster, it's honestly supremely talented, and it's
Oh yeah,
surprising that he continues to put up duds like this. I mean, 120 isn't completely awful,
yeah,
but if you can't beat Bob, then it says something about your team. And he has so many pieces here where I could see him being one of the most active people, maybe this week to maybe pull some deals off.
potentially.
Because he has a lot of pieces that I think some contenders would want.
I couldn't agree more, man. Even on his bench, I mean, he's definitely got some pieces that scream value, especially for a team that we all know isn't looking to win the title this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Very potentially interesting developments upcoming. So with that, our matchup of the week, Chubby Stafford finds a way against the desperate Fossil Fuel, winning this one 101.88 to 94.6. Another L for Justin.
I gotta say, it seems like for the past 4 weeks in a row, we've been saying how desperate Justin was for a win,
dude.
and he just
every week
continues to lose.
Oh man.
So it's at this point, it's just Matt. Now it's he thinks he's probably desperate for a win, but I think I think he'd be trying to lose now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying that because I have his pick, so obviously I want.
Yeah. Exactly.
But guys like Aaron Jones on his team who are older but still putting up really good fantasy production. He put up 23 points this week, and he's really the only person worth even talking about besides Hurts on Justin's team. And it was a dud day for DeVito's team too. They could have pulled this off, but Devontae Adams and his 27 points really kind of solidified it for DeVito.
Yeah, man, I gotta say that I think the headline of this matchup was just DeVito nowhere to be found past the 1:00 window of games. Matthew Stafford's out. Trevor Lawrence on his bench ends up having a pretty solid game, and this was matchup of the week. And DeVito's 7-2. He's got to can he get a win against a team that needs a victory more than most teams in Justin's Fossil Fuel? Ends up picking up John Wolford back up for the Rams. And only puts up 8.78, and he still gets it done. Justin's team just did not show up, man. All these guys putting up duds. Obviously, Ertz with the injury, but really outside of Aaron Jones and Jalen Hurts, I mean, what are we talking about here?
And you look at DJ Moore, and every time He had that one game he had the week after we made the trade. I was like, oh man, if DJ Moore starts having some good games, like
Yeah.
I'll start to feel weird about this. But no, I look at this back-to-back week duds for DJ Moore. And it's just, like he's still a great player. I love DJ Moore, but I just couldn't deal with that question mark of dealing with 6 points coming from him.
Yeah, I agree, man. And honestly, man, it's tough. I do think now more than ever, I mean, the fact that he did get a first round pick with that trade with you, obviously Waddle being the superior talent, but still, man, he had no future at all. He needed a first round pick. So I definitely think Justin is going to end up being in a bit of a rebuild mode. We'll see, though. Maybe he's going to be too stubborn to actually commit to that. I guess that is yet to be seen.
If I were him, I would look to make these moves now, because if you wait to the season, you think you'd be able to get as much for Jones in the offseason as you're getting now? You think for Kamara, who could be missing next season? Like I think now would be the time to off and load. And on the other side, DeVito, if I was him, I'd be looking to add pieces, like almost as desperately as Alexi is, because I think that with Jim's losing Kupp, things have become a little bit more wide open. I mean, yes, obviously Andrew, top of Mount Rushmore, but one injury to Andrew's team, someone doesn't show up that week, like those final 3 positions, Jim's team doesn't look unbeatable anymore.
I agree.
So I would definitely look for these teams like me, DeVito, and Alexi to try, and even you, Kev. I know you're looking for next year, but maybe try and take advantage.
Maybe we'll see. We'll definitely see if something floats through my doorstep with an offer and it makes me think about maybe I can do this after all. We'll see. But with that wraps up our week 10. Very exciting week. So looking at our dynasty pick'ems here, Rich, I go 5-1, man.
You needed a bounce back week. And
I really did. I really did. Jim goes 3-3. But with that brings season totals to 40-20 for me, which is bumps me up to 67%. Jimmy falls to 43-17, dropping him to a lowly 72%. And Rich, you stay at 22-8. You weren't able to pick with us last week. I was
a little busy last week.
As we know. But keeping you at a firm 73%.
All right, so I'm in the lead.
Yeah,
with my bullshit.
There you go. 42-8. Fantastic. Beautiful. So before we get into week 11 here, let's just take a quick look at our updated standings here. Like you said, top of Mount Rushmore, the 9-1 Chrome Future, followed by the 9-1 Run CMC. These guys separated by 11 points, man. Like, it is paper thin. Third, we have 8-2 Chubby Stafford. Fourth, 6-4 Rags to Riches, all the way up to fourth, man. Currently a playoff team. After being, like I said, bottom of the barrel not that long ago, man. Absolutely meteoric rise on a 5-game win streak. Fifth, I'm all in, dropping to 5-5 on a 4-game losing streak. Excuse me. Sixth, we have myself, Taylor Swift's McLaurin F1, also 5-5, losing 3 in a row. Seventh, Evil Empire, winning his last 2 at 4-6. Eighth, Gunnar Grogan, also 4-6. Fossil Fuel at 9th with a 3-7 record. Absolutely brutal for a team looking to make the playoffs. 10th, Chicken Parmesan after his upset loss against the Saddest Man, falling to 3-7. And 11th, the Saddest Man picking up his second win of the year to go to 2-8. And 12th, bottom of the barrel, second year in a row, Bateman and Robin, 2-8 as well. And clearly just an awful team, unfortunately, yet again for Jason. And it's unfortunate, but it's just the way the cookie crumbles, man.
I mean, it's got to make you very happy, too, because you guaranteed that Bobby would not get Bijan Robinson.
I did.
And, these two play each other again. So that's going to be – they might put up 50 points each that week in an effort to lose. But, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, man. It's gonna be fun on both ends of the spectrum here, and we'll get into it more. But I really do think that at this rate, maybe Bobby would just be so stubborn, like, you know what, I really am just gonna keep winning, and maybe fall out of the top three or bottom three, man. And Grogan, like I said, not win another game. I'll say it every single week. I'm not wrong about this. So
I mean, four wins with that bottom of the barrel, 4 wins may be enough
that's what
to
I'm
keep
saying.
him out of the lottery.
True. But with all of that, man, let's dive into week 11. Okay, so with our first matchup here, we have the 9-1 Chrome Future up against the 2-8 Basement Dweller, Bateman and Robin. What can we talk about here, Rich? What do you got?
I mean, for Andrew's side, let's just go with Saquon Barkley. He'll definitely pop off against Detroit in my estimations. And then looking at Jason's side, you know what? Let's talk about Trey McBride. With Zach
I
Ertz
like it.
going down,
Yeah.
we'll see what this kid's got. His first start. It takes a long time for tight ends to develop usually, but maybe this kid will show a spark early on, and that would be a huge boost for Jay. What are some players here for you, Kev?
Yeah, man, I like the picks. I mean, McBride, he was kind of consensus tight end one this for all the rookies. But looking at Andrew's side, man, I don't want to pick. I had this trend last week with Jim. I don't want to pick the obvious guys, or and when it comes to Andrew, pretty much all half his team
Yeah,
are
it's
obvious
obvious.
picks. I'm gonna look to Cordero Patterson have a big bounce back game against Chicago. Their defense has been not great. Justin Fields is definitely ascending, but defensively ain't it. Fields played great last week, but they did lose to the Lions. So I'll see about Cordero Patterson with a bounce back. And on Jason's side, man, I think Josh Palmer, man. I think Sunday Night Football, Herbert has just been not playing great, but Palmer is the number one guy, and the Chiefs defense is, again, also just haven't been anything spectacular. So I look for Josh Palmer to have a solid day, assuming Keenan Allen stays sidelined. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that these two teams are kind of polar opposites. As I was making picks, it was kind of funny because, like, on Andrew's side, there's almost too many to pick from, and
yeah,
and then on Jason's side, it's kind of hard to find a guy. Like,
exactly,
obviously, there's CD and Lamar Jackson, but those will get set every week. But you look
exactly.
again at that RB room from Jason with Gainwell and Hunt. It's
Yeah,
just
it's gross.
there's no offense that can be taken by just saying, as you said earlier, Jason's team just really blows. And I don't think I don't even think we really need to say our picks, but I'll say it anyway.
No.
I'm not even gonna look at Jim. Jim sent us in picks. I'm not gonna say his. Jim says Andrew. I say
Yeah.
Andrew. What do you think, Kev?
Go with Andrew, man. It's not even close. Poor Jason, man. But hey, this is what he wants. I know that this is what he wants. So
Yeah.
he'll get it because he's gonna get Bijan Robinson. So there you go. But moving on, man. Our next matchup here, we have the 4-6 now, Gunnar Grogan playing against the other 9-1 team, Run CMC. So Rich, who are you looking out for on Gunnar Grogan's side?
I'm gonna be looking for Mecole Hardman for to like see if maybe he can continue his hot streak here and be like the wide receiver one there maybe in Kansas City. And then on the other side for Jim, I'm gonna be looking for Amon-Ra St. Brown to
like it.
to stay hot and maybe the beacon of light of losing Kupp will be that he got him in the offseason. Can be that big game guy for him. What are some players for you, Kev?
So overall, man, I'm gonna go with on Grogan's team, Paris Campbell out of left field. Michael Pittman has been a bit disappointing. Campbell has been pretty inconsistent, but in 3 of the last 6 weeks, man, he's been putting up really stellar numbers in fantasy.
Sure.
And Pittman has been he's obviously been much more consistent, but very low floor, very low ceiling too, I should say. It's just been boring, honestly. So I thought maybe with Jeff Saturday being there, Pittman would have a big resurgence. Turns out it was just Taylor, but yeah, man, Campbell had a great game against them. So I'll see if he can continue that momentum against the Eagles. So obviously a tough matchup, but we just saw them lose to Washington, so we'll see how they respond. And on Jim's side, yeah, man, I'm gonna go with Joe Mixon, coming off of an absolutely historic game before the bye week. So fresh off the bye, the Bengals are feeling good. I mean, they're feeling really good right now. I think Joe Mixon is going to keep up the momentum in a divisional rival game against the Steelers, and just continue to do his thing, man. So, yeah, I'm going to run CMC with a big win.
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of similar to the last matchup, where I don't think that anyone's going to have a different pick. I expect domination. Like there are like Paris Campbell, he said he can pop off, but he could also give you a 3-point week.
Yeah.
And like we've seen what Clyde's been doing lately, J-Rob, really the only, like you're looking at his lineup right now, really the only two guys I like are Hardman and Pierce. Where if you go down the list, even without Kupp for Jim's side, there's Connor who had a great game. Maybe we'll get more of that.
Yeah.
Higgins against Pittsburgh as well. And then Pickens, who's really been turning it on as like a real solid option in Pittsburgh. So yeah, I think handily it's going to be Jim, and Jim also picked himself, not surprisingly.
Of course. Yeah, man. It's I love it, man. And Grogan's pick continues to ascend, and could very well be quite the foundational asset for your boy moving forward, and especially going into next year, could help me maybe compete again. It could be that good. So
We shall see.
We shall see, indeed. Moving on here, we have the 5-5. I'm all in. Oof. Playing the 4-6 Evil Empire. What do you got, Rich?
I think this is the most important matchup of Alexi's entire season right now.
Agreed.
And he's missing all of the Buccaneers.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're looking at it here, I do like his lineup doesn't even look that hot. Like if you want to pick a guy, Derek Carr, he had that big meltdown where he was crying on
Yeah.
I mean hey, it was motivational though in a way, I get it, he's in a shit situation right now. It feels like his future isn't secured. That payday, I know he's a good quarterback, but they just haven't been playing up to it. Maybe he'll just go off against Denver. Him and Adams will have a big connection that day and he'll go off. And then if you look at TJ's side, I expect Hopkins to just keep doing what he's been doing. And he may be the real reason why I think that he could potentially get a win over here. But what players do you think?
So overall, man, I gotta say, I think Alexi, it's tough, man. It's just been, I mean, between the injuries and the underperforming, it's just crazy. But I'm gonna look at Mark Andrews, coming after the bye and off an injury, should be fully healthy against a good matchup in Carolina. I mean, I know the defense has been solid, but I expect the Ravens to get ahead early. Baker Mayfield's quarterbacking them again, so I think the Ravens are gonna get up big, and I think Andrews could definitely join in some fireworks led by Lamar Jackson, obviously. So I look to Mark Andrews to meet his projection and maybe even surpass it at 16 right now. And then over on TJ's side, I'm going with Danny Dimes, man, against the Lions. I think the Lions remain the worst defense in the NFL. Daniel Jones is hot right now, man. I mean, the Giants, they're winning games. I said it last week. I was talking about Andrew's team with Saquon against the Texans. I expected him to do well. And I also mentioned how the Giants make things interesting against teams that they should just beat. But that's not the way they play football. So, but regardless, I expect Daniel Jones to have a big day and another win for the G-Men as well.
You heard what Saquon called him during the game? You saw
Vanilla
Vic. If he was on my team, that would be cemented as his nickname.
100%.
Yeah, Kev, I'd like to hear your pick for this week because I'm interested in to hear what you say, because I agree with Jim and I have his in front of me, but I want to hear yours.
Okay, because I actually don't remember who Jim has. I'm definitely gonna have to go with I'm all in. My reasoning is, it's interesting because you highlighted DeAndre Hopkins. Is he going to move him? This is the week to do it. So this is his last chance for this week. So if he does move him, obviously he won't have him in the lineup there. So, and given just how abysmal this stretch has been for Alexi, and like you said, if he loses, that's it. More than likely. I mean, technically it won't be, but in all intents and purposes, it ain't looking too hot. Yeah, I mean, obviously, Miami is on bye. Mostert's been playing really well for TJ. Kyler Murray is banged up, but like I said, Daniel Jones is starting anyway. But Juju, I didn't mention him in the news, but he did take a big hit. Is he gonna play? We don't know. But yeah, man, I'm going with Alexis. I'm all in to pull out the crucial victory to stop this 4-game losing skid.
See, I was gonna go there with you too, but Stevenson is sitting there on TJ's bench. I think he's gonna be back in there, and he's been having consecutive good games. And then even if he does trade Hopkins, Rondale Moore, it's been kind of gone unspoken because he's been on TJ's bench, has put up 3 consecutive weeks of really good football, fantasy football. And I think that maybe this week he slots him into that lineup, even if Juju is healthy.
Yeah,
maybe. And I think me and Jim are on the same page where we think that Alexi's team is floundering at this point. And I'm going to go with TJ, and so does Jim.
Wow.
And that's mostly because I want it to happen. Because like that would make my position that much better, hopefully.
Yeah, man. I mean, you made a good point. I actually forgot about Stevenson coming back. So, yeah. I mean, against the Jets, I believe. So tough matchup there, but yeah, we'll see. But yeah, definitely gonna go with Alexi for that matchup. So moving on, we have, coming off a win, the 2-8, the saddest man, playing up against the 8-2 chubby Stafford. Who sticks out to you in this matchup, Rich?
I'm gonna go with Christian Watson again.
Okay.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers found his guy. That maybe it's gonna be exclusively running the football and throwing it to Christian Watson for touchdowns. Maybe, and if that's the case, then it's good to see Dak Prescott back in the starting lineup there for sorry, I may have stole your pick, but oh well. But him back in there too. And then looking at DeVito, we got Kittle, who's been, he had a rough week this past week, but before that, he was turning it back on. So I definitely see him getting involved in the offense there against Arizona.
Yeah, man, I like it. I was gonna take Watson, but it's okay. I was thinking of Dak as well.
Well, that's all right. I'll take both of them.
Right. Yeah,
Two good
exactly. They are. Overall, man, I actually am gonna go with Jacoby Myers. I think, I don't expect. I mean, it's weird because Jacoby Myers is technically their one, but he's more of a slot guy. I'm curious to see if Sauce is gonna just follow him the whole time. I don't think so. I don't know if Devontae Parker is going to play, but he profiles more as like an alpha outside guy. So if he does stick to a guy, I think it would be Parker, even if, Myers' production has been obviously much better. So yeah, I look to Jacoby Myers to kind of get open and get a couple of good plays. I don't think he'll score a touchdown, but maybe with a 13-point performance,
should be huge for Bob.
Yeah. Yeah, probably be best he's ever had. And I'm also looking at on DeVito's side here. I'm curious about Tyler Boyd. So with no Jamar Chase, and remaining out, and I mean coming off the bye, like I said, he hasn't really been doing much. I know. T. Higgins has been playing well, doing what he does. But Tyler Boyd, I kind of expected a little bit more out of him without Chase in the fold. Yeah, man, we'll see after the bye against the Steelers if he can stop the scoreless streak that he's on. So maybe find the end zone against the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm really starting to feel bad for DeVito. I mean, he's been playing really well. But every week I see him throughout the week have Keenan Allen in that starting lineup as questionable. Yep. And then when game day comes, He's just not around for it.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he makes it this week. I think whether he's there or not, I think that DeVito is definitely going to take this one, unless like those few guys that we mentioned have big days. You see Elijah Moore still sitting there in the starting lineup of Bob, which is just alarming.
Ridiculous.
But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and pick DeVito to win this matchup, as I think we clearly all should.
Yeah. Jimmy did as well.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So moving on to our next matchup here, the 3-7, 3-7 teams squaring off with Fossil Fuel and Chicken Parmesan.
We almost made this one our matchup of the week. Just for the Tank Bowl.
Literally.
Which one would end up in the lottery? Which one's gonna be middle of the road?
Yeah.
But I still think, like, regardless, if you took the records out of it, I think on paper it's a really exciting matchup, just based off of like sheer talent on the team. A player I'm going to look at for Justin is going to be Aaron Jones, to continue to see if he's truly just back to being an RB1. Against Detroit, he had a questionable day. I know he was dealing with an injury, but he went back for a really great game last week. Let's just see if he can continue it. We'll see if he's even on Justin's roster too. Like, again, I mentioned him as a piece that I think he's definitely looking to sell, maybe to a contender. But yeah, we'll see if he's there. We look to have him have a big day. And then on the other side, we'll look at AJ Brown to have a bounce back game. There's no way that he's going to be as locked down as he was, and it's against Indiana. I'm expecting like the whole Eagles team to have a bounce back.
Yeah.
And probably just blow out Indianapolis, even though, like, I think that they're back on it. I expect, like, them to just show that they are true to their record and probably stomp on them. Who are you viewing here?
So overall, man, I'm curious. I think on Justin's side here, the only player that speaks to me the most, I don't like a lot of these matchups overall. And I also don't want to take super obvious picks. Like, obviously, I like Hurts this week, but I'm gonna pick Darnell Mooney against the Falcons. I think overall, Justin Fields, as I said, he's definitely been ascending. Cole Kmet has been the biggest benefactor thus far. I think the Falcons can't cover wide receivers to save their life, and Mooney is still technically their number one. Claypool more of the touchdown threat, but I think Mooney's gonna have himself a big day and be a big reason why Justin wins if he does win. And on Carmine's side here, I'm looking at Russell Wilson, man. Because guess what? Last time he played the Raiders, he had himself a day, dropping 27.48 back in week 4. And that was like the only game we got a danger Russell Wilson like performance. So I think he'll do it again. I think the Raiders are just awful. They're dead in the water. Actually, the worst team in the NFL. I
didn't see that coming,
but did not see that coming. Like, going into the year, I mean, it was a matter of who do we think is the worst in that division, let alone the whole league. So, I think Russell Wilson will have a nice bounce back game. He's been less than mediocre this year. It's actually still astonishing to me, but I think he'll have another great game against the Raiders this week.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, definitely an even matchup. Like, I think the running back matchup's good. Like, on paper, like I said, talent wise, like, this is a great matchup, a fun and exciting one. I think it will go down to the wire. Like, if you look at projections, they're separated by 3 points. I could see it coming down to maybe even less than that. But I think that Justin's team is what it is, and it'll just keep losing despite the talent being there. And I'm going to go with Carmine to get this win, despite the fact if he wants it or not. And I think that Justin's going to fall into the lottery. And if you could make your pick there while I pull up Jim's.
Yeah, I agree, man. I'm also picking Carmine. I think, with Justin guaranteeing he won't be a lottery team.
I'm the guarantee guy. I don't know who he thinks he is, but
right. So yeah, man, I think Carmine's gonna win this one, and and good for you, man. Obviously, because you got his pick crazy. Did not expect Justin
I'll keep hoping for it.
Never once thought going into this year, there's no way Justin would be a lottery team. And I remember very well, man, back in our me and Jim's verbal days with the podcast, we had Justin on, and he fully expected playoffs, nothing less than that, and not much to show for it. And in fact, he'll have a bottom 3 finish and won't have his pick to capitalize on it.
At least he has your pick though, and
He does. He does have my pick. Yeah.
And Jim's pick, he actually went against us, didn't agree with us here. He thinks that the desperate Justin going for the win out will take a win here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean it's very close, man.
For sure.
It's really a close matchup. Both teams do have some buys, obviously, with the Bucks. So Justin, no Mike Evans. And Carmine's missing my man's ETN, which means he's also missing Christian Kirk, who just had a big game, and also the Seahawks are on bye, so no DK Metcalf there.
Not like he was starting DK ever anyway. So
exactly, man. So I wasn't even going to mention it, to tell you the truth. But either way, I still think Carmine's studs will come up big, and a guy who's been struggling all year, Russell Wilson, I think he'll show up and be the reason he wins this week.
Big thing to look out for Carmine's team going forward is Odell Beckham sitting on his bench. Now I'm sure by now he wished that Odell would make a decision of where to go so he could trade him at the deadline. But I still think hearing the teams that are circling, I think there's still a lot of value there potentially for a contender. Maybe I'm not obviously not like a first round pick or anything. But I would be interested to see if maybe Odell is on the move this week too.
He could end up being the Giants' wide receiver day one, and that would
crazy.
be pretty great to have him back, man. It would just be fun, and with the new ownership and management, coaching, kind of do him right. He was a big.
He'd probably be in tears.
Honestly, I would cry if he came back. I can't believe it. I never got rid of his jersey. He meant so much to the team for a long time, and really helped out Eli Manning's twilight years, to put it nicely. But yeah, well, good point, man. We'll see what happens with Odell, if Carmine does move him or not. I know Carmine obviously loves him. So interesting. Did not think about that. So yeah, maybe Odell will be on the move in our league very soon. And with that, our matchup of the week, the two co-hosts here tonight, we have the 5-5 Taylor Swift's McLaren F1 up against the 6-4 Rags to Riches. Is he gonna make it 6 wins in a row, Rich?
I mean, the thing that's crazy about it is like I truly view this as a must win for me. Going forward, I'm going to be going up against Jimmy and Andrew in back-to-back weeks. And with like Alexi's situation being what it is right now, I really feel like if I win this, it would put me in a great position. But that being said, I'm missing 3 of my best players in Tua, Waddle, and Kenneth Walker.
Yep.
I did pick up Matt Ryan. He's not going to be the player I point out to here. Who I am going to point to is Cole Kmet to keep doing his thing. I think that he's been, aside from the running game, he's over the past couple of weeks, he's been their number one touchdown option. And seeing that he continues to be one of Fields' favorite targets in that red zone, I don't see any reason why that would change. And then looking over at your side, I'm sorry I'm probably taking your guy, but it is Jonathan Taylor, who, seeing that he seems to be back with that offense being reinvigorated under the new coach. When I saw that happen, I was already kind of dreading this matchup due to me not having any quarterbacks, because I am also missing Geno Smith.
Top 5 in the NFL in passing yards.
Yeah, so I have 2 elite quarterbacks and neither of them can play. And then to see Jonathan Taylor turn it back on made me dread this matchup even more. But what about you? How you feeling about the players in this matchup here?
So looking at your team first, man. Overall, I like the Cole Kmet pick for sure. I was gonna pick Wan'Dale Robinson, but he hasn't been 100% healthy, and I think
against
Darius
Detroit
so definitely opportunity there, but I think Darius Slayton has been the guy as of late for Daniel Jones. Do I think Wan'Dale Robinson will do absolutely nothing? No, I definitely think he'll get his moments against the Lions. But I am gonna pick Tony Pollard. Just he's been playing really well, and like you said, if Zeke does come back, I think he's proven that he's talented enough that he's gonna get his touches, man. He's a good running back, very talented player. And all the good stuff that we've been saying about him for a while, it was just always like, well, yeah, but he's got Zeke. And I mean, going into this year, it was really no shock. Like we knew Zeke had lost a step. Like we knew that going into the year. And I mean, now to see it and he's missing time, like, and Pollard's just been
He just looks better.
So 100% looked better last year too.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, so he's just kind of continue to take over. So I expect Tony Pollard to play pretty well against a very exciting Minnesota Vikings team on Sunday. And on my side, man, I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin. I think Taylor Heineke and him have a good connection. I like the matchup against Houston. And, McLaurin had a season best performance against the Eagles and upset victory for them. So maybe Washington is looking for something to prove there. And, if they want to get this win, another win in the column here, McLaurin will definitely have to be a big factor to get that done. So I'm looking at Scary Terry for a back-to-back great performance for me.
Yeah, I think another thing that gives you an advantage in this matchup here, I like the Terry pick because of that Houston matchup, but I don't know if he's going to give the same performance, because that was an outlier performance from that whole Washington team this week. But I think what really gives you an advantage in this matchup is that Giants matchup with the Lions, because I think it's just going to be a gritty fight for a win game. And I think that serves perfectly for Jamal Williams and even Swift, who hasn't been performing that great, but just those short throws and running touchdown upside in that game, I feel like is going to be so massive. I'm hoping that for me, Claypool gets involved in the offense a little more, being that it's now 3 weeks that he's been there. Maybe a touchdown can go his way. I'm hoping Matt Ryan puts up a similar week to last week. And, being that I do have potentially maybe some moves coming along the way before this week gets started, even if I don't make those moves, I'm still going to do it anyway because it's been working so hard. I'm going to guarantee a win this week against you, Mr. Kev. I just think that your team hasn't really been showing up this year. So yeah, the names are scary: Herbert, Taylor, Swift. But as they have done all season, they're going to do it again this week, and that is not show up. And I hate to break it to you, but you're gonna need a big day from Mac Hollins once again to get past this steaming hot force that is rags to riches.
I respect it, man. I do, because I can't even disagree, because I don't think I've met my projection in 5 or 6 weeks. And
I've outperformed my projections.
Yeah, you have.
Past.
But like you said, you are missing your key players. And I think in the end, that will just be enough for me to steal a win against you. So I am going to pick myself to kind of, stop my skid, but also make things a bit more interesting for that 4th seed there. We'll see what happens with Alexi this week against TJ. And yeah, I think I'm going to get it done this week against you, man.
Jim does agree with you. He thinks that the things I'm going up against this week are too much, but I've just seen so much heart and fight for my team this year, and I think they just feel the love that their owner flows through the team and the passion. And it'll be the day that the guys like Wan'Dale, Claypool, and Darrell Henderson, when I need them most, they haven't been having great seasons, but when I need them most, double-digit games from them. It just feels like what's been going on with my team all season, and I can't pick against them now.
Yeah, we'll definitely see, man. And just real quick, just because it is a matchup of the week, I'm also going to shout out TJ Hawkinson. I think he's going to get his first touchdown as a Minnesota Viking against the Cowboys.
I could definitely see it. I could see it.
Yeah. So I'm excited, man. It's a good matchup. It's going to be a good week. Lots of movement already has been going on. You look at you, man, all the way up to top 4. I mean,
from 1-4 to 6-4.
It's insane, man. But I think I'm gonna put a nice end to it. I hate to do it to you, but hey, but you guarantee it. We'll see if I'm the curse that ends your guarantee streak.
Because at that point, if I win again, then I have to guarantee a win against who's next? Hello, Andrew.
Yeah. So hey, and like you said, if you beat me, right, you're in solid shape. You're kind of giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room. If you lose,
Especially if Alexi loses this week, then. But yeah, it's definitely that 4. I mean, I think the 1, 2, 3 is kind of cemented between DeVito, Jim,
due to wins. Yeah, I
and
can't
Drew.
see DeVito going out.
But that 4 spot is really interesting between a select few teams, especially between me and Alexi. But then there's also like the surging TJ. There's you, who if you could string this win together, a couple wins after that, you know, it's that 4 spot's really gonna be interesting. As well as it's really interesting about who's gonna get that number 1 lottery pick odds there at the end. It's really like as these teams start to play each other in these last couple weeks, like are they gonna throw out the shittiest possible lineups? Like you know, even openly. Then they might get a matchup of the week out of it just because like Bijan Robinson, like you said, he could be a top 5 dynasty running back right away.
Day one.
So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of exciting things going on to end this season here, and you know, I'm very happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, man. Well, that's all we have for us. A very exciting week ahead. We'll see, you know, the trade deadline, man. Monday Night Football. So make sure you guys get those trades in. And with that, guys, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, and keep up to date with all the new content coming out here on Dynasty Nation. All right, guys. Peace out.